Okay, so that brings us to 7.5 box packing. So in this problem, we need to write a function called box packing, and it's given two tuples as input arguments. So the first tuple represents the size of an object, and the second tuple represents the size of the box, and then we basically need to compute a new tuple that represents how much of the object is sticking out. So we see that in the first dimension, the object has a, width of 2, the box has a width of 4, so nothing is sticking out, that's why it's 0. And the second dimension, the object is bigger than the box, so the difference between these two numbers is how much is sticking out. So I guess that's what we need to do in this problem. Let me just copy this code. Come on, like this. And find the file, box packing. And then we print it out. And I guess we need to compute the return difference. That's called the result for difference. So insert a breakpoint here, and then I start the debugger, and that allows us to sort of solve this problem. So the first thing I notice is that the function kind of has to do the same for the two dimensions. So you can just solve what the problem should do for the first dimension and then basically repeat it for the second. So let's call let's start by determining if it's sticking out. So we'll just say if object of 0 is bigger than box of 0, then it's sticking out. And then we'll call the value that is sticking out with as delta v for width, delta width, or the change in width, and that will just be the difference between the object's width and the box's width, like this. And otherwise, dv should be equal to 0. Okay, so let's check if this works. So I'll just run this code by pressing Shift-Alt-E. But if you don't want to do that, just take this code and copy paste it here. I noticed that some people on Piazza felt that this shortcut was confusing, but you can just copy paste things into this Python terminal and it'll run as well. So I'm just using the shortcut to make these videos a little bit shorter, and I kind of know that I'm defeating the purpose by explaining so much about my shortcuts. But we see that in this case it computes 0, which is what I want. And then what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to do the same for the second dimension. So now I call it dh for height, and that means that we need to select the right dimensions. So we change the 0 to 1, and then we update this and we update this. And now if I have an indentation problem, I can see, but now if I run the code, you can see that the h has been updated to what it should be. And then I can just return this difference. So I'll just return dv dh like this. And I guess that should work. So let's try to stop the script and run it anew. We stop it at the breakpoint, but we'll just continue. And now we get an error again. That's because I renamed this one. That was my bad. It was because I had this scope problem and then I renamed this variable accidentally. Now it should work. So we'll just run it, and we see that it returns something that looks familiar. And now with bated breath, let's try to see if the tests work, and they do. Okay, so that's how you can solve this problem, and get a nice little exercise that combines a function that returns two variables with some tuple indexing.